Manipulation is fear-based, and fear in itself, I feel like, is such a big topic because when I picked apart fear for myself, it was such a sad time because that's when I realized that fear had such a control over so much of my life. Like, I remember crying and crying, and when I came to that realization. So it was a big deal. So fear, yeah. I want you to ask yourself where your fear lies. And, you know, I first of all identify the fear. So if you are in a situation where you want a way out, just kind of ask yourself, like, well, what am I scared of? What am I afraid of? If I leave, or if I cut this person off, or whatever it is that you want to do, that your instinct is telling you to do. Just ask yourself, what are you actually scared of? And pick it apart. Say to yourself, okay, well, let's just say, for instance, you want to use crossing the street as an instance, because I don't really want to give examples of my own, and I'm sure everybody has their own examples, but, you know, if you want to cross the street and you're like, I'm scared to cross the street. I'm just scared. A lot of people just stop at that feeling of fear because it's so overwhelming, especially when it affects us physically. And if you were to say to yourself, well, what exactly am I scared of about crossing this street? You know, and then you allow yourself that opportunity to kind of sit there and think, like, why am I programmed to be scared to do this? Is it because I'm afraid to get hit by a car, right? So if you're afraid to get hit by a car, now you're aware. All right, so now I'm going to pay extra attention to these cars. So, excuse me. That's why I think identifying our fears is so important, because once we really see what we're afraid of, for me, I know that when I identified fears in certain things that just held me so captive, I cried because it was something that really wasn't as serious as I guess I thought it was, because I stopped at the fear. I didn't dig deeper than that. I just was like, oh, that scares me, right? So our body reacts certain ways. So yeah, just be very aware of where your fear lies in these things that keep you in situations that you don't want to be in. And then once you identify that fear, ask yourself, okay, well, what if that happened? Then what? You know, and I know that when I did that, I actually started doing this when I was in therapy. Sorry, hold on. Gosh, I'm coming over a cold, but I remember doing that in therapy, and I think that's just a very big thing that people do in therapy, period, point blank, because therapists want you to kind of figure out your own problems, right? So, you know, I remember my therapist with this like blackboard she had. She was amazing, but she would write a word at the top and say to me, you know, what words do you want to put under this? And at first I was a little like, I don't even, was this homework? Like, I don't understand what we're doing. And she started giving me a couple examples, and I was like, okay, I see where we're going with this. So yeah, fear can be used to describe a ton of things that can debilitate us in our day-to-day functions and continue us to stay in toxic cycles. So please, if one thing you can do is really identify your fears, where they come from, and then it can go even further back, and you can look back at, say, childhood or other things that could have contributed to having that fear.